morning, MMS.
Good morning, Charlie.
How are you?
Hey, great. I just called you up to wish you a happy hump day.
What you want to hear then?
Could you play Already Gone by the Eagles?
Gotcha.
Would you do that for me?
Of course.
Oh, wow, that's really nice.
What are disc jockeys for?
On that very same building and just down the hall, there exists a completely different world as far as radio stations go. WMMS, one of Cleveland's progressive rock stations.
Starting at the corner of 9th and Euclid downtown, and he says to me, "This is Cleveland.
This is my city."
Get down, damn it!
Hey, welcome to the first ever.
Why are you yelling?
I don't know. Stairway to Cleveland podcast. That's Keith.
That's Scott.
And we have a very special guest,
And who's that?
Mr. Corey Rotic
Hi.
from WMMS, home of the Buzzard.
Cleveland.
It's awesome to be here, you guys. This is going to be nothing bad will happen here.
No,
right?
we're in a safe
all
zone
safe.
here.
Yeah,
We're
all
very safe.
You're our first guest, Corey.
Yeah.
You should be honored.
I'm quite honored. Actually, I'm
We're
quite
actually
scared. Like, these aren't typically video, so I hope I look camera ready.
That's Rick, the voice of God.
Hey, how's it going?
So we're here. We're going to talk about Corey's life with rock and roll radio. And then we're going to talk about Cleveland disc jockeys today.
Ooh, how exciting.
I know.
There's
We've had
so
a
many
lot
good
of
ones.
we've had a lot of great legendary disc jockeys in this city. And then we're going to throw down, bro.
Oh, what's a throwdown?
Oh, it's going to throw down. We're doing Motley Crue today. So we're going to take a Motley Crue record and see who's got the best opinion on the Crew.
I have a best opinion.
Because it's my opinion.
Mine is the best opinion.
As long as we agree with you, we're good.
That's right.
Well, hey, I know the rules to this game. I play it
All
often.
the time.
Often.
Usually by yourself.
There's
but
no
you
bigger
play it a
Motley
lot.
Crue fan than Corey.
There is no bigger Motley Crue fan
They
than
don't
Corey.
exist.
It got down between Motley Crue and the Monkees because we know you're a huge Monkees guy.
Right now
is
unfair
tough.
time
It's
to ask.
Tough.
It's always going to be the Monkees, though.
Really?
Yeah, because they're the first ones they're the first band that I ever noticed playing music, like how music was made or, like that it came from people. So I feel like there was a transition that was easy to make from like the Monkees to the idea of like Motley Crue and Poison, because you had four distinct personalities within a group, but you knew their names, you knew what they were about, you knew their personalities somewhat.
Sure.
And then come to find out, Motley Crue was more the Monkees than the Monkees ever were. They actually lived together in the same house. They actually did have a bunch of chicks. And I feel like I've heard reports that Vince would get those twinkly little stars in his eyes when he fell in love. Yeah. So
now, how did you fall in love with the Monkees? Did you see them when they re-released it all on MTV back in the 80s?
I did, but I was a little bit earlier than that.
Really?
My parents were always, it was music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in my house. And it was, this is the God's honest truth, did not know there were other radio stations other than WMMS until I was probably 9-10 years old.
Really?
And that's when I was like, that's when like Monkey Mania restarted.
Sure.
So that's when I was like, hey, there's an oldie station. They play the Monkees all the time. But I found with music all over that they finally gave up with me asking them to repeat the same songs over and over.
Sure.
And they got me a little toy record player. And then records just started showing up out of nowhere. Really? And one of them was I'm a Believer backed with I'm Not Your Stepping Stone.
Oh.
And from that moment, like I didn't even know. I mean, this was 1984, something like that. Okay. So when 1986 rolled around and like the Monkees had that revival on MTV and on, in syndication and stuff like that, that's when I caught up with, holy shit, what's this? There's all this. There are these people. All I knew about it was this record.
Really?
Yeah.
So you got to put the music to the faces.
Yeah, and
understand.
I heard tale told of my dad being a drummer when he was a teenager. Like he played in like some like garage and like it sounds like almost a mod type group in like the like 66, 67, something like that. So yeah, this is
Now, was he in this area? Did your parents
like
come
Summit
from this
County,
area?
like outside of Akron,
Right on. So
so I'm a little bit
Cleveland-ish.
Cleveland-ish,
Yeah.
but like when all the great bands were playing, you know, at the Agora and places like that, that's where my mom and dad would go on dates.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like
I probably ran into them a few times.
you may have. I mean, like,
Not that old.
no, I mean, we're talking like, it was funny that the first like rock show I ever wanted to go to was in 93. I was like 14 years old, and Poison was touring on the album that was very non-glam and very not.
Is that the
native
Richie
tongue.
Kotzen?
Yeah. And my dad, I remember him giving me all this shit. He's like, "You expect me to let you go to a concert with a bunch of rowdy bands and all that?" I'm thinking, Dad, it's Poison and Firehouse. You dodged pieces of fucking Keith Moon's Drum Kit, man.
Now that's
You
a
know?
show.
Right. You know, like,
Just the other day or a week or two ago when you were on the Alan Cox show, I finally understood your name. I never understood it was Corey Rotic. I just thought it was Corey Rotic. I was like, what did he change his name to that for? But now I get it. It's Corey Rotic. I get it.
like, first of all, I was the biggest dork of all time.
Slow learner.
Like, I knew anything of which I spoke of when I came up with that name. And like, what, I was 17. Here I am at the age of 44.
It's stuck.
And I'm all about like monogamy and being faithful and being sober and all that. I'm trying to sell this thing like, yeah, what's up, ladies? Corey Rotic.
What's up, girls? Corey Rotic.
Yeah. No, yeah, but F that name. It's silly.
It's a cool name. I dig it now.
I like
now
it.
I understand it.
Okay.
Let's ask you this though, bro.
Okay.
How did you get into MMS? Because you grew up listening to MMS. How, did you go to Ohio School of Broadcasting or something of that nature?
I did. I went there and because I started out at Akron U.
Okay.
And turns out that like their communications department was learning about the Federal Communications Commission, which like I care.
Exciting.
And their job placement board was a bulletin board in the student union, you know? And plus when I learned, no one cared if I showed up to class going to college.
Sure.
That didn't last very long.
Right.
So then I was playing in a band and not really doing anything. And I met a friend who had worked at MMS before. And I didn't know OCB was a thing.
Okay.
I didn't know that that's something that normal people did was.
Sure.
So I kind of fell ass backward into meeting this dude who's like, yeah, you need to check out Ohio School of Broadcasting or whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah.
And I went there, got my internship. Ended up working a ridiculous amount of intern hours because once I could get in the building, they weren't getting me out.
Yeah. How did that
Glad
all
to be
work
back.
out? You were gone for about a year.
The company felt some pain over COVID and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they had to make some decisions, financial ones, I guess.
Yeah.
And well, turns out that the pittance that I made was still a little too rich. No, man, but it was really cool to have a year to remember, like look back on my career as something that had happened, and it was just like, shit, you know what I mean? Like, and then kind of mourn it and miss it a little. But I started getting really, really involved with like. Well, first of all, I fell in love. You know what I mean? And I got engaged, and that was cool. And
that's awesome.
Thank you.
And your girlfriend's amazing.
That's Fiance.
Fiance. Is amazing.
And she comes with 2 6-year-old daughters to be for me that I absolutely adore. But
It's a handful.
it took that and like taking the time to actually think about what I loved. Not even just about radio, about music, and then getting involved, trying to, straighten out some stuff that I have going on, and being more involved in like advocating a bit as much as I can without sounding like a blowhard like, good mental health care and practices and anti-suicide, and I'm sober. So I I needed this time. And then I got a call that said, hey, you want to play? I'm like,
you're ready to get back into the sandbox. Yeah, buddy.
It's a good time to do a reset.
Yeah, and it's been great to be back. Like the outpouring. Thank you to everybody who listens, and thank you guys. You guys had to deal with depressed me, where I had nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Like it was never.
Well, in the meantime, while you were off, I mean, you joined Speed Rail, which is a great cover band with a lot of great musicians in it. You guys played a lot of shows, so that filled up a lot of your time right there.
It was great to have that, and my Speed Rail bandmates, they also kept me propped up, man, because like I stopped playing. Like I started playing when I was like in bands when I was like 15. You know what I mean? And at the age of like 37, done.
Right.
And I didn't know that. I think kind of I needed to miss that too. So when Speed Rail happened, it was really cool to have like a family, and none of us give a fuck. Like we'll hurt ourselves routinely.
I've seen you guys play. Yes.
Yeah.
Fred is more prone than he is up.
And then there's Jess, who she's
awesome.
The safest place to be is right behind Jess, like in line with her, because shit flies and falls, and stuff gets knocked over. And like Bailey is just an absolute beast and just funny as hell, and like I can say that like for a time in my life now, finally, what's your job? I'm a musician.
I mean, how awesome is that?
I paid the bills playing music. Like
that's it's amazing.
Speed Rail, CLE on the socials.
Yeah, check them out. They're great. When you guys playing? I mean, you guys playing around? I mean, you're taking some time off for the holidays.
We're taking the holidays to just kind of recharge and refocus a little bit. Talking about writing.
Really
nice.
And I know I'm pushing for that pretty hard, because I think that I love playing the material that we play, because who doesn't love those songs? Who doesn't love
it's great stuff
going out and just you don't have to think. And for me, that's great, because ride E, ride A, look pretty only gets me so far. But
I saw Corey practicing for the Big Liquid show that was at Scalpers, and the energy was just amazing. And then when I saw you at the show, you're bouncing everywhere. I loved it. I hadn't seen a musician actually enjoy their music that much.
That's what I love about all the bands that I'm fortunate enough to play in. They're all so different. Like Speed Rail is just straight up motherfucking, whatever. And it's just sloppy and it's awesome. And then I have a Monkees tribute band, or we like to call ourselves a salute band, because we're not pretending to be the Monkees or anything like that. We're just...
You got the shirts.
We have the shirts, and that's really all you need, right? A good casting director for the audience, so they can applaud on cue. We just do we don't try to recreate the songs. We don't try to act like we're the band members. We just go out and garage rock
the songs.
Some of the greatest pop songs that have ever been recorded, and it's funny how they will translate well into more aggressive songs. So that's something that, especially with the passing of Michael Nesmith, we're planning a reunion for 2022, like a little we're in the planning stages. Yeah, we're in the planning stages of a day-long festival, because there's a great Monkees community that we're all kind of mourning right now. I mean, a lot of us lost our first favorite guitar player and our first boyfriend or whatever.
Right.
So when you see grown-ass adults being as sad as they are, there's an impact.
There's a whole generation that grew up on the Monkees, and Michael Nesmith, I mean, he was a huge part of that. I mean, he was very difficult for a lot of years with those guys, but when they came back together, it was beautiful.
They were all dicks, but when he was ready to come back,
the most musical talent in that band.
That's another conversation for another day. I feel we could be here for an hour with that, but I mean that would prevent me from saying what I also, Liquid, and like you guys mentioned, I get real stoked about that, because I used to go see Liquid when I was a teenager.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was aware of Joey and Greg from Fatal Charm.
Yeah.
Fat Arm.
And that's a real thrill to, it's not like I don't know these songs already, just from
amazing.
Having a cassette, that I got at a Slaughter show in 1995 when they were opening, so that's a really cool thing, kind of going home. And it's find me a more tight-knit unit than Joey and Greg and Timmy, and it's just nice to. There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
It's awesome,
but like
awesome.
Speed Rails, where we tear things up, and we're lucky enough to run into you guys along the path. And
let's talk about this. I've heard through the grapevine that not only are you an MMS employee, that you also are a big collector of memorabilia of MMS.
Disgusting.
Really?
Dude, there's stuff that I have in my collection that I don't remember a time in my life that I didn't have it. We're talking 2 years old, 3 years old.
Now we're talking 101.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah. 101 FM.
Like, I was born in 77. So, we're talking very late 70s, early 80s. Not only was that stuff, I was just fascinated with the character, the buzzer, but I was afraid of it at the same time. There were little commercials that would run, like 15-second spots, animated. And my collection is not slowed down at all.
Really?
I'm still disgusting about it.
It's
like,
awesome, though.
When I find stuff that, every so often I will find a new piece of mine when I was like super, super little. And that's real exciting, but like, the same commercial, like animated commercial that scared me when I was a kid. Not only do I have the hand-drawn pencil sketch, but also the hand-painted cell from the commercial. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Just picked up a poster from 1969. Like the buzzer didn't exist, the mushroom didn't exist.
Really?
Like, yeah, this is going to be the rest of my life, and I'm so glad they brought me back because I packed it all away. I never want to see it again.
Well, here's another thing. Now that you guys are moving from Independence to downtown Cleveland,
I just found out about this recently.
You probably should be kept up to speed on some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think you work there. So.
There's probably a lot of stuff floating around that might just.
It's all been picked through. Here's the thing. I got something. Son of a bitch. I'm so glad we're talking about this right now. I just hung them up on my bedroom wall. They're going to like throw this shit out, right? And when I first started at MMS, we were still at Tower City downtown. Sure. Yeah. And there were these 3 massive poster boards where everybody would come in and they'd sign them, right? We're talking like Ronnie James Dio, all of REM.
He was signed way down here.
You just signed it lower on the poster.
No, somebody picked him up because it is right in the middle. But South Gang is on there. Yeah,
Butch is on
there. London Choir Boys. And
I
always thought they were called the London Queer Boys for some reason.
Well, because you're into that. So,
like, if I like this guy, this would be the coolest thing on earth. Like some weird monster type thing. Fred Durst drew like a really cool looking thing and signed Fred Durst, Limp Bizkit 97 or whatever. And like,
you can paint over that.
No Doubt is like drew a big thing on the back.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
dude, that's badass.
And that shit is now hanging on my bedroom wall.
Do you have the old school keychain in the star?
Which one? There's the yellow rubber.
That's the one I had. The yellow rubber. Mm-hmm. There's a white one, I think, too.
There was a white one. There was one silver or one like silver one. But the coolest thing that the one piece that I want to replace so much, like Arby's, when I must have been 4 or 5, had like plastic MMS mugs that you could buy. There were 3 different styles, and I had one of them. And it had like a sticky tab at the bottom. You could put it on your dashboard.
It was a travel cup, and it had a plastic piece into the top, slide into it.
It slid in there and snapped in there. You remember?
I do.
I had the red one. It was white, and it had the buzzard circle logo, no star.
That was
it
from
said
Arby's,
bonjour on the back. Yeah. And that's how I learned the word bonjour. Because
was it a French dip they were promoting or something?
Probably. You'd have to ask my mom. I didn't even know what French dip was, but I knew all about the buzzard.
That's amazing.
I mean, there are tapes of me pretending to be on MMS when I was little, trying to imitate, like on cassette tapes, trying to imitate my fucking mentor, who I got to, like, so proud that I got to work alongside Len Boom Goldberg.
One of my favorites.
We're going to talk about him in a minute.
One of my favorites.
He was
Len the Boom.
He's still on. His voice is still on commercials.
Isn't it fucking
because
fantastic?
It's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah,
Don't you get stoked when you hear
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I worked with his daughter Becky.
Becky Boom?
I've never gotten
Becky
to meet her.
Goldberg.
Is she as wonderful as she seems?
She's a great person.
Awesome.
Really, really.
That makes me happy.
And actually, if you don't mind me talking about me for a minute.
Please.
Okay. Because I have nothing interesting to say. So when I do, the band I'm in, Vinyl Arcade, wrote a Vinyl Arcade theme song. And we used Len the Boom in that theme song.
Really?
Of course, it's really hard to understand the lyrics because I usually screw them up. But I actually asked her permission if we could put his name in the song. And she said, oh, by all
I remember you telling me that. That's
by all
awesome.
means. She's great.
So what else is going on with you now? You got the band, you got the you're back at MMS, everything's good, you're engaged.
Yeah.
Sounds like everything's coming up roses for Corey Rotic.
Things are going well, and it's part luck, part work. 1-800-273-8255, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Awesome.
I've never been happier, like, in my whole life than I am right now, and it's just the love of what I'm doing, and then I get to legitimately talk about cool stuff with you guys. I mean, please, somebody cut me off because I'm just
no, dude. This is what it's about. Since we're talking about Cleveland radio and WMMS, why don't we talk about some of the history of Cleveland radio and the disc jockeys that have been in our great city?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
So many good ones.
oh yeah, we can go all the way back to the man himself, Alan Freed, who started right here in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, he didn't come up with rock and roll, no matter what Rick says.
I did not say that.
I was going to say,
he didn't come up with it. It was actually, it's an old blues thing and came from the black community. It's a lot of the older blues songs and stuff like that. There was some songs that were called rock and roll. Well, he was the first one to
Rendezvous Records or something, right?
I don't know exactly, but I know that he popularized it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He popularized it. And he was the first one who used the Moondogger and all that stuff. He had those concerts that ended in riots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
The Moondog Coronation Ball.
exactly. I think there were two of them, if I remember correctly, right? He really got it going here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
The reason why we have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Cleveland. They had his ashes in the Rock Hall for a few years, I believe. Then he moved to New York and he ended up getting into some payola trouble and unfortunately tarnished his career. But did
he, if we're still talking about him and crediting him with all this today?
Yes.
I mean, not that I'm condoning such a thing, like anybody's ever given me any kind of...
Hey, here's $20. You want to play some Lost Nations?
Yeah. If only it were that
Take more
easy.
than
I mean,
$20.
you know that when I first started at MMS, well, now if I were, I'm like, all right, I'm about to make what a rock and roll radio studio, brand spanking new. We're going to, I walk in there, walking in the old studio too. There weren't piles of Coke on Rush record sleeves or anything like that.
Oh, man.
It was Purell. It was spring water, and all these things, which was fine with me, because I don't do too much of the hell raising, but I feel like stuff like that. Everyone who came before got to experience an era and just like a fucking Wild West type thing that I'll never know, but it's cool to think about.
Back again.
And like they could get away with so much, man. Like when I was just in awe of being in. I was talking about Boom. Here I'm 22 years old. I know everything, and I knew this voice. And my first exchange with this dude was there was an air schedule hanging on the studio door, and Boom goes looking at it up and down, and I'm kind of awestruck. Anyhow, he's looking down the list. He's just as glad. Who the fuck is Pile Driver? And I was like, oh, there's the voice, And there was another guy in the hallway with us who Jesse Hayes, hell of a guy. To hear him tell the story, this was a syndicated wrestling show that would air on Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. Boom thought Pile Driver was a guy. To hear Jesse Hayes retell my response, I'm like, oh, Mr. Boom, it is a radio show pertaining to professional wrestling. And Boom just, fuck you. And can I do one more about Boom? Because this is also beautiful.
Absolutely.
He's
a legend.
Because I'll never know what it was like being in a meeting with Alan Freed, or if they even had meetings back when people were stupid. I don't know. Right. And life was black and white. But I was in this meeting with MMS air staff, our program director at the time, was trying to teach Boom about, a new way of delivering the call letters and, things like that. And, okay, well, why don't we try this, and Boom, how about you? Whatever he said, and Boom, how about fuck you? And could totally get away with it. And so
He's a legend.
Legend indeed. And, for having that voice that will blow your speakers, he had a kind heart, you know what I mean? And we're all just weird and flawed, but
absolutely
find ourselves in an empty room talking to ourselves.
So let's talk about some more Cleveland legends and disc jockeys. We had, I don't know how many of these guys will remember, or you'll remember. You're younger than us.
You
remember Pete Franklin?
I don't.
Yeah. Pete Franklin was like one of the first talk show hosts. He was outrageous. He was gone. He came here and left for a while, and he came back. But he really was. He was like the Howard Stern before Howard Stern.
Okay, like around what time?
I believe. I got notes here on the floor here. Let me pick these up, Rick.
You can.
You're allowed to have
Pete Franklin was at WERE from 1967 to 1972. Then he went to WTAM from 1972 to 1987.
Okay, yeah.
So he was here for a while.
I didn't know there were other stations than MMS until I was very old.
Those are both AM stations.
They are. Same with, remember Gary D at all?
No,
I don't.
Gary D was another loudmouth disc
Oh, yeah,
jockey.
he was kind of a loudmouth. He was married to Liz.
Liz Franklin? Was that
No.
Liz.
Come on,
Morning
somebody help me.
Exchange.
The lady from the Morning.
Oh, now see, that's coming.
Yeah, he got in trouble for boxing around a little bit.
He kind of threw a punch.
Yeah. So we got, Pete Franklin and Gary D were kind of cut from the same cloth. Loudmouth, shock jockey, I guess you would be the. But they really made their mark in Cleveland radio.
Yeah. I shouldn't say shit like that. I don't know. Is he dead?
They're both dead, yeah.
Okay, cool. That means no litigation.
Yeah, we're good there.
Cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost
We're
both
not
of them.
here for the slander.
Then, of course, we had John Lanigan.
Lanigan
was amazing. He was here forever. I remember more from hosting
the Prize
movie.
Yes.
In the afternoon on Channel 43.
I think I disappointed Lanigan in my one and only appearance with him on his airwaves, but he's a legend.
He is a legend. He is a legend. I think he's down in Florida now, I believe, doing the same. I don't know if he's retired or
something-ish, but I don't.
I just know, Knuckleheads in the News was so huge, and him and Jimmy Malone did that for so many years.
And there's still some great stuff going on at Magic right now with Mark Nolan.
Mark Nolan's amazing.
Yeah,
I did not know he's a Kiss fan, like a Kiss
I didn't know
fan.
that either.
His favorite album is Ace Frehley. See? So I think that...
It's a debate for another show.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that.
We have
We'll
to
get back to
bring
that.
the Nolan vote in.
Oh,
it's almost like the tiebreaker.
Super nice guy.
Super nice. I didn't realize he's like 14 feet tall.
He was tattooed by Mike Martini.
Was he?
That's true.
He's
crazy.
tattooed?
Yep.
Mark Nolan?
Yep.
Huh.
Well, we'll have to do investigation.
Love him. Well, it's just...
Now, here's a name you might remember. Uncle Vic. Do you remember Uncle Vic?
Yeah. The ghoul is a fool.
Uncle Vic is slick.
Ugh.
He was really popular in the late 70s, mid 80s. And he just started a whole war with the Ghoul, who took over for Ghoulardi.
Right.
And
now, I remember the Ghoul. That's right around my coming of age.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Ghoul on other podcasts.
Awesome.
But Uncle Vic had he was a white guy with this big afro, goatee. You can look up the video on YouTube for Uncle Vic is slick, the Ghoul is a fool.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot of amazing. He was shock-ish, but he was more of a disc jockey than anything else, I would say.
Yeah. I remember Uncle Vic.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jerry Shirley.
When GCL went to NCX,
yeah,
he was part of the NCX group.
He was.
Jerry Shirley. Yeah.
Who now?
Jerry Shirley. Do you remember Jerry Shirley? Humble Pie, Fast Way, Badfinger.
I don't know those four letters that you mentioned. I'm sorry, but I do know who Jerry Shirley is.
Jerry Shirley, great drummer. He was a pretty good disc jockey. He did get in a little trouble for, he used to fill up a truck every year, I believe, for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And
The charity drive guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he got in a little trouble for that, and that was kind of the end of his career, unfortunately.
Brings new meaning to the term 30 days in the hole.
Yeah. Oops. I think that was the whole concept behind it. He was sitting in a truck for 30 days.
You said days.
Then the next two I've got on my list here, two guys we lost in the last year.
Man.
Mike Trevisano, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, he Mr. Know-It-All. I mean, he started just as a caller, and he became the biggest disc jockey in town.
Isn't that the greatest story, though?
I mean, isn't it?
Like,
I mean, you either loved him or you hated him, or you loved to hate him. But
I had no problem with him.
This is where I feel bad. I have no opinion. If I wasn't working, I rarely listened to radio, and if I did, it was MMS, because I'm not just the company boy. I fucking love MMS. So I had seen Mike Trevisano in the hallways for the majority of my career, daily. May have heard a minute, perhaps, of his show, and that was typically urinal time, when it was playing overhead. But Trevisano, for being such an imposing guy, like, I didn't know him. I did not know him. We'd smoke cigarettes together sometimes, but when I passed him in the hallway, if he wasn't talking to Seth, then he was always talking to Seth, because they were tight as hell. Oh, Seth is one of the best, dude. That's the name that needs to be on that fucking list.
Right.
Talk about a legend and a fucking just evolver. But like every time I would pass Trevisano in the hallways, most of the time he would, hey, with the monkeys, like that, and keep walking. So I'm glad I'm known for like two things.
Yeah.
But yeah, rest his soul, because that man made an impact.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he sure did. And then, of course, the legend himself, Michael Stanley. Who, of course, was known more for his music than his disc jockey job. But, I mean, he was on NCX for a long time. Sorry, Corey.
No.
But he was there for 30 years for the most part. I mean, he was on PM Magazine.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was...
With Jan Jones.
With Jan
Jones. And, I mean, he broke records at Blossom. But anyway, so we lost Michael this year as well. Actually, last year.
Yeah.
Was that still 2020?
It was 2020.
Really?
It was 2020. But
this has just been a mishmash of...
It's been a shit show for the last 2 years. But, I mean, obviously he was a legend. I mean, he was a rock star. A rock star.
It was fun to listen to. I enjoyed his show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember those songs from being young. That's what... I feel like everybody who grew up in Northeast Ohio is going to have a similar... I mean... I really didn't even know what a band was, but I had heard all the adults in my life talking about the Michael Stanley Band, and I would know the songs, especially the hits when I was young. That man, lucky as hell. Talk about, he stays in town.
What was his town?
Yeah, all right.
So I heard.
Yeah. Well, he said so.
And that's all it takes is for one person to claim something, and it's theirs. So I'm going to claim myself as the biggest Motley Crue fan in this room, and we'll get to that. But if you think about Michael Stanley, like he got to be the voice of his art form that he loved, and then he got to moonlight all these years later in his career, still with a stage set up by the lake, playing his fucking music. Tell me that's not a life lived.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost him too early. And then another name we're looking here. He just closed the big platinum doors for the final time. I think
Did he really?
Coming up.
Bill
Lewis.
Oh, yeah. That's
he's
right.
retiring, or he has retired. I think at the end of the year, maybe.
Talk about knowledge. That guy had it.
I'd take him on.
He knows a lot about.
He did have big platinum doors.
He did. You don't have platinum doors.
No, but I got a big platinum set of balls that says, you want to take a guy out for one last time on your way out the door? Let's do this. Corey Rotic sucks. Hit me up.
But yeah, Bill was around forever, 87 to 2021. I mean, he was a lunchtime staple for many years.
Oh yeah.
Never heard him.
I remember calling in and requesting songs and him just laughing at me, saying, I'm not playing that. But,
Were they Lost Nation songs?
No. They're more like obscure Who songs or Iron Maiden or something.
Yeah.
Never Led Zeppelin, though.
Do you hate the term hair metal?
I don't.
Well, I was going to get into that one.
Okay,
the Motley Crue thing too.
All right, we'll get to that.
Hurting cats
Hurting
with
cats
ADD
in this
hanging
group.
out with me.
All right, one more name on this list before we get to the MMS people. Trapper Jack.
I remember Trapper Jack.
Trapper Jack
was a TV show, wasn't it?
That was Trapper John.
That was Trapper John.
Light Rock 106.5. That's where I just made the jump, because I don't know anything about Trapper Jack except for, what was it, Light Rock 106.5, I believe.
WDOK.
And I remember the TV commercial.
Yes, he had quite a few commercials.
That's what I remember.
He was around forever. He
was in the mornings, right?
He was a morning guy.
Trapper Jack in the mornings.
Yeah, and he was legally blind. He could not see anything.
Did he run his own board?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I'm imagining if he didn't, I probably couldn't.
That's not even an insult. Like toward the end of my initial run, I'd gotten so bored. Pun. I had gotten so used to doing the same thing in the same motion every day for 12 years at the same time, exactly every day. I was doing trick shots on like Instagram and stuff. Like I would take my mask and pull it over my face, or I'd do the old, remember the, I don't know, whoever won the slam dunk contest in like 1992 wore like the Lone Ranger mask.
Sure.
You know, so it was turning into me doing it behind my back, you know, like throwing stuff at the board to pop it at the right time. Like it was, so that's
it's
what
a talent.
I feel like if like once you get, I mean, did he go in legally blind? I mean,
I think he had
do
like RP or something, and he eventually went blind.
Yeah, there was a slow
Decline
of his
I bet you he could still do it.
Yeah, he actually left because he found religion, so he decided to leave Cleveland.
Where'd they leave it?
He found it somewhere. So I mean,
He didn't see the light. He felt it.
you're an MMS guy,
Yes.
obviously to the core. So let's talk about some of the MMS legends.
To the Corey.
To the Corey. Thank you. God, I fucking love these guys. I love you.
Billy Bass.
Billy Bass.
Do you know Billy Bass?
I've never met him.
He is the one who coined the term they hear on all the radios or all the commercials. Cleveland, the rock and roll capital of the world. He coined that phrase.
That was him?
That was him. He was also a marketing strategist for Chrysalis Records.
Really?
And he managed, because he's no longer with us, Luther Vandross. Did you know that?
Damn.
Then, of course, we've already talked about him 500 times. Len Boom Boom Goldberg.
My favorite.
1972 to 2004.
Yeah, he was.
Do the math
Talk
there.
about a career.
Do the math.
That's got to be at least 12 years.
The golden voice.
No, seriously, look at that. Let's,
I mean, that's insane.
Let's see what we're looking at here.
That's
so that'll be
28 years.
coming on you, Boom.
Yeah, you're catching
Coming
up.
up for you.
You're up at what, about 20 now?
Well, if take away the one that I
The lost
sat, that was almost a year. I haven't done an actual day count. I'm up over, will be since the beginning of my internship to now, even taking away a year, that'll be 22 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, next year.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to be on this list.
Won't be long.
Then,
would
of
love
course,
that.
probably the biggest name that I could think of that went from MMS, came from MMS, Kid Leo,
Oh, yeah.
the man. I mean, he
The
broke.
satin jacket superhero.
Oh my God, he broke so many careers in this town.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously Springsteen was.
Rush?
No, that wasn't. That was Donna Helpert.
Sure
Oh,
was.
I remember.
But
that you
I
say
mean, Kid Leo, Springsteen, Bowie, Pat Benatar, Mott the Hoople. I mean, they all came through Kid.
He was the Rodney Bingenheimer of the
He
not
was.
West Coast.
Yeah, he was the East Coast Ronnie.
And
Yeah.
now I'm here. Listen to me. See, my therapist is telling me you need to be confident. You need to be proud. I'm just coming off like a dick.
No, I like the
don't think
confidence.
so.
Kid Corey, I dig it. Sounds like a rapper. Well, that's Kid Cudi. Sorry.
Day and
Don't bring
night.
that
That's a
up.
cool song.
But Kid Leo's, from what I'm reading here, is still on the air on Sirius XM.
Mhm. I think he's still in the record industry as well in some capacity, maybe.
Yeah.
Again, a guy I've never met, but I remember here. You know, these aren't tapes or anything that I've had my whole. I remember his voice from being young.
Oh yeah,
Like-
I mean, he was the voice. I mean,
I wish I could still retain stuff like that in my adult life. Like, you know, you never love anything more than you love things when you're a kid, and you never remember things better
oh, yeah.
than.
Dude, I still remember smells and feels from when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not the same as an adult. It's totally crap.
I showed him on the doll. I do too.
So Donna Helpert, we touched on her. She's the one they thanked her on the back of the Rush album.
Did you see the new video that they just did for Spirit of Radio?
No.
Like a new animated video, maybe
Oh, really?
2 years ago. Maybe I was
Before
still
Neil
at MMS the first time. It may have been a tribute, but she was depicted in the video.
Really?
Yeah, which was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, she helped break Rush. I mean, everyone thought there was just a new Led Zeppelin song when it first came out. And next thing you know, every girl in the world hates Rush. Denny Sanders.
I remember
The coffee break concerts was his thing. I mean, coffee break concerts in Cleveland were huge.
They were.
I mean,
I think when I was doing this research, I think he booked the acts.
Okay.
And Matt the Cat.
Matt the Cat.
Was basically the guy that made him happen.
That's right. You're right.
The two of them worked together.
Yeah. Matt the Cat.
Matt the Cat.
All right, how about
this is interesting because you guys can help me because I've been compared to this guy.
Matt the
I
Cat.
know the name, I remember the voice, but I don't really know what he was about.
Yeah, well, he was known for the coffee break concerts, apparently.
Yeah.
From 74 to 92, he was at MMS. So he was there for a long time. He was a real good disc jockey. I don't remember much personally about him because it was not the era of that.
You are nothing like him.
Really?
Nothing.
Well, what's that mean? Was he like a dick or?
No, not at all. He was very professional and he was a great DJ. He was great on air, but he was very clean cut.
Okay.
Collared shirts and stuff. So just an appearance alone, you're more rock and roll. He's more United Colors of Benetton.
Well, you know what? That stuff's cool too, I guess. At least that's what all the ads said when I was a kid. I feel like I heard that he's still in the area-ish, working corporate. I'm trying to remember, he definitely was not at the 50th anniversary MMS party.
Gotcha. Then BLF Bash, I mean, obviously, we've touched on him, and he was there for quite a while. I mean, again, another staple of MMS.
He left shortly before I came.
Okay, so speaking of BLF Bash with his great voice, probably next to Boom, probably the biggest voice on MMS was Friday afternoons when you're getting off of work and you heard that one voice giving you the Friday. I can't even do it. Bill Squire's doing it now.
Check out Bill Squire. He's got it down.
He's got it down great. But Murray Saul with his Friday countdown.
He's got to get down.
Get down.
It's just.
It's in our intro now.
Is it?
Is it?
The Get Down, yeah.
Nice.
Excellent.
We're going to get sued. But yeah, the ghost of Murray Saul, I don't know.
That's not a suing, that's a haunting.
It's a haunt.
We're going to get haunted.
Bill
And
Squire.
apostrophe.
Bill's going to come after us.
It won't be the first time I've been in copyright litigation, so I have experience.
So Murray Saul with his Friday Get Down, that's it to this day is a legend. They still play the actual one at all on the radio?
We actually use it in the Vinyl.
I haven't heard it
before you do Cleveland Rocks, right?
Before we do Cleveland Rocks, yeah.
Cool.
Spaceman Scott, another great one. Was he part of the whole Zoo crew?
He was. I feel like he was around toward the end of that era, but I know he was around mid 90s to late 90s, and I only met him once, but he came in during an anniversary weekend.
Okay.
And he tracked, it was a big hair weekend for holidays.
Right on.
And our program director at the time brought him back in to do a guest air shift. And
Really?
I kind of got
awesome.
to run him through that. And that was cool.
That is cool. And speaking of the Zoo, we're talking Jeff and Flash. They were the morning show. Probably the biggest morning show ever in Cleveland.
The Buzzard Morning Zoo.
The Buzzard Morning Zoo. So many characters. Mr. Leonard.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
This green, what was it? Lime green Pinto.
Yeah.
Mr. Leonard. All the cast of characters on there.
Boom was in the mix.
Boom was there,
being driven to school. That's what I remember. And I still remember they had that feature they would do where the blow-ups where you could call and bitch about something, and then when they're done,
blow it up.
Boom, blow up. I still remember being young and somebody calling in and saying they wanted to blow up the Smurfs, and I was so sad because I loved the Smurfs. That's how young I was, like car seat young.
No kid.
Yeah, man. Wow. And so it's amazing that 40 years later, that's what I remember. No wonder I'm in trauma therapy.
Well, the thing
Boom's
is,
cussing me out.
They had so many bits and stuff, and even as a younger man, teenager, even some of their bits, I was like, "Is that real?" Because some of their gag phone calls and stuff, like calling Michael Jordan in his hotel room and things of that nature, I'm like, that can't be right. That can't be right.
They had the pull to get it done. If anybody was, though, I can't attest. I
don't know. I'm just saying. But the whole Mr. Leonard thing, you'd have to go try to find his lime green Pinto and see just all that stuff. It was so great.
It was a good morning show.
It was a good morning show. Speaking of good morning shows, we got one in town right now. Rover, who's been here since, well, he started on WXTM from 2003 to 2008.
Yep. And on April 1st, 2008, actually St. Patrick's Day 2008, they made the announcement that Rover was moving over to MMS. And iHeartRadio made the announcement to me because at the time I was running the morning show at Kiss FM.
Okay.
I just, my first baby was on the way. I just turned, adult age, really, I was happy where I was and I didn't have to think much. And they're like, oh, hey, Rover's coming over to MMS. Do you want to go over and be a part of that? I'm like, hey, I'm pretty good where I'm at. And then they're like, you maybe want to come over here and do this. You don't know if this is always going to be here. So it was a surprise.
So did you run the board from the beginning of the Rover show?
From the announcement,
really?
That day, I had Kevin Matheny, who was portrayed in Howard Stern's movie Private
Pig
Parts.
Virus.
Yeah. He was my big boss at the time.
Okay.
And then my program director at the time, it was the two of them in the room with me. The afternoon show at the time, Maxwell, they were out on remote kicking it to Rover. So I'm kind of running all this deaf anyway. And I will never forget. I said, well, here goes nothing, joking around. And my boss at the time was like, here goes everything. I'm like, I know, dude, I'm not nervous. And I was totally nervous. So yeah, it's been since 2008. Rover's been here in town and is just a fucking steamroller.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Rover Fest and just everything that he's done. It's just been crazy. And to talk about cast of characters, I mean, geez, just meeting these people, you think that these people are not the way they are, so you meet them and you realize they're that way.
They certainly are.
They're the real deal.
And it's just great to have to have that kind of energy attached to the radio station. I think it works well. I mean, the guy, the show is so well loved and it is just so well received. And, there are plenty of people that don't like it. There are a lot of fucking people that do. Yes. And I think that it's just what they do is so dialed in and is so just
and he's just resigned, so he's going to be around for a little while longer.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of current MMS DJs, Alan Cox, who's been there for now.
This is his 12th anniversary.
Today.
Yeah,
we're recording this on December 16th, is it? 16th. And Alan Cox's anniversary today. Now, he brings a whole nother angle to the Cleveland radio, more of a heady, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. He's not a dummy at all. And he's a musician. Well, he's a drummer, so we'll give him half credit.
Yeah.
And he has a great show. He has a great cast on there now. Bill and Mary and
Pound Cake. It's weird that these completely unbelievable situations, for working directly with Rover's Morning Glory for all those years, I have weird things I can just bust out about Alan Cox. I can sit there and there's nobody, there are a few people on earth that I could say this about, but rarely am I in a room and I can be like, I was down in a catacomb in fucking Dublin with this guy. There were bones in the wall. We were eating quail eggs, me and Alan Cox. I got to go over to Ireland twice with the Alan Cox show for St. Patrick's Day. And I feel and I'll never have this opportunity again. I don't drink, but drinking and talking metal with Alan Cox is fun as hell. He knows everybody.
He knows a lot, man.
So yeah, that show is cool. MMS is just cool. And I mean, there are people who are no longer at MS who left their mark. Maria did middays awesome. For fucking ever. And she
used to come see my band once in a while. That's how cool she was.
She's my girl, dude. And
she's awesome.
I suck at staying in touch. Well, then again, I sucked at not being in bed for a year. I mean, depression's a bitch.
Yeah, but it's tough, man.
Maria, Seth the Barbarian. Stansberry was a co-host of the Maxwell Show.
He did his
down.
own thing now.
Yeah,
it's amazing. My final people on this list: Brian and Joe. I forgot about Brian and Joe, to be honest with you. I was not a big fan, I guess, but I know that they're around for a long time. Well, 4 years, maybe not that long.
Yeah, but
Fuck
then
Brian
they
and
also
Joe.
moved
All
over.
right, so-
But no, Brian and Joe, they then moved over after
They moved
MMS.
like 3 times,
They
didn't they?
moved to Mix 106.5 when it was launched. And that was where I first got my foot in the, at the time, Clear Channel doors through an internship for Brian and Joe. And my intern coordinator was Cheryl Z, who's a Cleveland
Cheryl.
legend in her own right.
She's amazing. Yeah.
So I'm just super proud to be, you know, the fact that I get to say I work at MMS along with that list that you just
Yeah.
went
yeah,
down,
dude, it's
and
insane.
you know, just the talent that's come out of this town. I mean, dude, all I wanted to do was make fun of the drummer from Def Leppard for having one arm. It's funny.
We're gonna battle next. Bring up some video. All right, it's time on Stairway to Cleveland to battle. Tonight's battle is Motley Crue. We each going to pick a record, and we're going to debate on see who has the best record of the 3. Feel free to put your vote in the thread below, and we'll see who agrees with whom, and we'll go from there. Corey, what record did you choose to defend?
Today it's like show and tell. I have the 1983 classic Shout at the Devil. If you look here, there's the pentagram on the sleeve, and this is his copy because mine is a reissue. So it feels nice to be able to open it up and see the printing just as it should be. Here's our boys looking pretty fucking sweet. And you just can't horse with this track listing. So we will talk about why Shout at the Devil is a pretty badass record.
Keith?
I have chosen Too Fast for Love. Too Fast for Love being my favorite Motley Crue album.
It's mine too, but
And Corey and I just kind of decided, since we love both albums so much, that we would just pick one each. But yeah, I have the same amount of love for Shout at the Devil as I do for Too Fast for Love.
so we're gonna team up a bit, I think.
Yeah, we got a lot to say.
And I picked the bombastic, the hit machine that is Dr. Feelgood from 1989. Sober Motley Crue at their best.
That's right when they got sober.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That brief shining moment when they were sober.
Well, Nicky's been mostly sober since
Nicky
then.
has, well, he's had moments. But
Yeah, I mean,
then we have Tommy and... Anyway, so let's decide which album is the best, shall we? Let's start with the classic. Now, that's not the leather...
No, it's not
edition.
the one on Leather Records. It's not. It's his Elektra Records, which I thought was pretty cool because the first Motley Crue album I ever listened to was Shout at the Devil. And of course, you know, I was 13, 14 years old when this came out. And it wasn't called hair metal back then. It was just called rock music. And a friend had it and he played it for me and I was afraid of it, but loved it all at the same time. It was a very violent, lyrically violent record, which I just thought, well, my parents can't see this. But ended up trading Billy Squier, Don't Say No to a Kid at School for this album.
For what, this album?
For this album. For this album.
I thought you were defending this
I
album.
am. I'm getting to that.
Okay.
But what I also noticed is that I had a 45 of Shout at the Devil, or no, it was Looks at Kill, and the B-side was Piece of Your Action, which I thought was good by Elektra because this album really hadn't done that much.
right.
And so what they were doing, Elektra was putting hits or song selections on the 45s of this album from this album. So I'm like, well, I don't know this song. I don't have it on here. What is this? And so, I went out and bought this as soon as I knew it was available. And the rawness of this album, I mean, we all know there's an overabundance of cowbell, but it's one of the best sounding recorded cowbells ever. And every song on here from Livewire, which I considered the second to Bastard. This Livewire on this album was what Bastard was for me on this.
I'm
Which
so
I
glad you
totally
said that.
I totally love that song. It's probably one of my favorites on here.
Yes.
But it opens with Livewire. We all know what the songs are. Come On and Dance. The guitar tone was not great on this album, and I love guitar tone, but it fit this album because of the rawness. And so, if I've got to pick a Motley Crue album to listen to, it's this one.
See, to me, that's like you said, it's not hair metal. To me, this is almost a punk record. You know what I mean?
Punk, pop, rock record.
Yeah.
Because, there's great melody on this album all over. And the bass sound is killer. The drums are amazing on this. And I started with this one, and then I got this one, and I'm like, oh, this is my favorite. It's been my favorite since I was 15.
What I would say, I love that you said that, because when I talk to people about Too Fast for Love, because there are people that think of Motley Crue and they immediately think of Shout at the Devil or Smoking in the Boys' Room, Home Sweet Home era.
Right.
I feel like Too Fast for Love in a lot of ways is a power pop record in metal sheep clothing.
Yes.
And with the punk thing, I know Nicky he'll talk about the punk influence of Motley Crue more than he will metal influence, but I don't think he talks about his power pop influences and sensibilities enough when you talk about an album like Too Fast for Love.
That whole T-Rex, the Raspberries vibe, but just heavier. And I've always felt, with most bands anyway, that their first album is their greatest hits album, because that's the songs they have been playing a billion times to get a record deal. So I'm a big fan of first albums.
Yes.
Of course, Kiss's first album, Van Halen's first album, but it's just, this was what Motley Crue was when this came out, and there was nothing more. This wasn't even in the...
No.
And I think they did really well on that album, but this one is just...
They found their marketing for sure. But I think there's something about this record that was written, you can tell by, these songs started to take form before Nikki Sixx had really figured himself out. So there's like a deep sadness, almost like a melancholy and like a negativity, but not so much a destructive negativity, just almost like a lot of doubt in some of these lyrics, but they're also very empowering. Do you have a favorite song on Too Fast for Love?
Well, Too Fast for Love is a great song. Piece of Your Action, of course, because it was one of the first songs I'd ever heard on here. But I'm looking at them now. Take Me to the Top. That's great. Merry Go Round and Round kind of was it was okay. But Starry Eyes, On With the Show.
That's probably my favorite Motley Crue song.
That's just a great power pop, heavy, cool song.
My top two favorite Motley Crue songs of them all are Starry Eyes and On With the Show.
Really?
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
It's a great record.
We moved from this, and then they really found their footing with this.
Shout at the Devil was... Now, little known, they started demos for a project that they were going to call Black Widow between Too Fast for Love and Shout at the Devil, and that's when we were getting songs like Black Widow, Run for Your Life, Running Wild in the Night, songs like that never really... Some of them would pop up through the years, much like Toast to the Town and Stick to Your Guns from the Too Fast for Love era. But when Motley Crue decided to... It's hard to tell if they adopted the whole MTV metal thing or if they created it. I'm still unclear on that, because I don't feel that, like, while a band like Quiet Riot certainly had imagery, they didn't, they didn't look cohesive. I don't feel like a band like Quiet Riot, which would have been considered metal alongside Motley Crue back then.
Same year.
Yeah.
Now didn't Nikki ask Blackie Lawless for a lot of the symbolism and stuff for this album?
I'm coming around on the whole Wasp thing. I'm not real clear on the Nikki Sixx, Blackie Lawless connection at this point, which is surprising because I've only been at this for 35 or so years. But I don't know that it was what I think that so many things, especially about Shout at the Devil, would be revealed if they would just publish Nikki's goddamn notebook already. I feel like if you watch the scene in the film The Dirt, I have reason to believe that when they're going through the notebook, I feel like that's Nikki's notebook. If it's not the actual one, it's a copy of, because that's his handwriting, and there were like sketches of like a devil head with horns and a somewhat pentagram. But I think that it did Motley Crue great to find such a defined image that would almost, we got to think this Twisted Sister, I feel in a lot of ways where you'd think that Motley Crue stole a lot out of Twisted Sister's playbook. I feel like if you listen to especially Street Justice on Stay Hungry, is essentially Knock 'em Dead Kid Anyhow, which is a great song. We were talking about the song Bastard, where I feel like where he was saying about Livewire, if I could reorder the Shout of the Devil record, I would keep in the beginning intro, but like have the drum intro Bastard playing up in the, so as soon as you say and shout at the devil, dun, 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 like I think I'm certainly not going to complain about a record that has songs like, I mean, if you just look at the anthems on here alone, like Shout of the Devil Looks to Kill, everybody knows these songs. And that's just scratching the surface, where you'll have a song Too Young to Fall in Love. Everybody knows that song, the Helter Skelter cover, because Beatles, best band ever.
Hey.
This guy.
But then
Put monkeying around.
Get it?
You know what? I don't understand.
Okay, keep going.
But then when you see in this, like in the back in the song titles, you'll see, caution, this recording may contain backward messages. I mean, Motley Crue is looking to rattle
Marketing.
feathers,
Marketing.
and they did it.
Yeah.
And there's no way that this isn't a cool fucking. If this was any other band's, album, it would be their opus. But we got Too Fast for Love. So I feel that it's almost like Compton and Long Beach together on this mother effer. And these are two fantastic albums. And now I want to hear how
the
you
thing
feel
is,
Dr. Feelgood.
After Shout at the Devil, I mean, I don't know what you guys feel about Theater of Pain.
Well, they went from killer to clowns.
Right. They looked really cool. And then all of a sudden they're wearing striped outfits,
But that was
pink
probably-
and
I
purple.
don't hate it. I don't hate the
part of the
look.
time.
Mickey
though.
was heroined out.
Yeah, but you also have to look. Motley Crue has changed their look and their approach and their logo
Pretty much every album.
every album.
Right. Well, I mean,
And
then
when
they
they don't, they should.
then they went to Girls, Girls, Girls again. Had some high
fine.
points, had some good
It's
stuff,
fine.
had some stuff. But then when they brought this out in 1989, this was them at the peak of their powers. I mean, this was an MTV staple. You couldn't get away from Dr. Feelgood video. I mean, any of the videos that came off this album, it was just nonstop. And it was just, to this day, I mean, like a song like Kickstart My Heart, my wife's got it tattooed on her. I mean, that's how much she loves that song. I mean, this album just, they regrouped, and Bob Rock produced this album.
It was heavily produced.
It was so huge. And
Tommy
you don't have to worry about
needed that drum production.
He did, but you don't have to worry about the crappy guitar sound you have on Too Fast for Love. You don't have to worry about. I don't think the mix is all that great on Shout at the Devil. I think
It's slightly muddy, but that's what makes it sound good.
right, but this
Are we
is
coming
just
to a Motley Crue record for sonic brilliance, or are we trying to fucking just hate on our parents and stuff for
and that's all I'm good.
Yeah, enjoy the
12
rawness.
teenage minutes?
Right. I remember being a kid in high school when Shout at the Devil came out, and I'm like, look at these clowns. You know what I mean?
Were you really?
Yeah.
Being a Kiss fan.
At that time, I was getting out of Kiss. I was more the Who is the
Okay. All right.
because Kiss has already dropped the makeup,
Yeah.
and now these guys came along. Like, look at these guys are trying to be Kiss, and now they're trying to be Satanists. Ooh, so it was like, I get it,
But did you kind of enjoy every minute of it? Like
I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say every minute of it.
I did.
like the reason why
Too Fast. I mean, I'm sorry. What's the video with the Asian and they're fighting?
Too Young to Fall in Love.
Too Young to Fall in Love. That video I loved. I thought that was awesome. I thought the Shout at the Devil video was cheesy. I thought they were trying to be kissed too hard. And I wasn't even aware of Too Fast for Love for a long time, just because the correlation.
That didn't grab you.
It didn't grab me. I thought it's okay. But I mean, when this came out, I mean, come on. This was the album of 1989.
Yeah, but you sing like Bon Jovi. So
You sing like Mick Mars. Wait. Does he
wait
sing?
a minute.
probably better than Vince at this point.
Oof.
I mean, how are you today? I remember Cleveland radio connection at the time when I was 11 years old when Feel Good came out, and the other big hits around that time, Rhythm Nation, Girl, You Know It's True, Hangin' Tough.
All your
like,
favorites.
all these massive pop records. And the pop radio station in town, Power 108, I knew every word of every one of those singles because it was played in rotation right alongside New Kids on the Block or whatever oldie was brought back from whatever movie was out at that point. And that was a really big time for Motley Crue to be able to do that. Did they win the battle? Hell yeah. A word that put them in the war, though.
Yeah. I mean, how many hits were on these albums, would you say? And this was, what, 2, 3?
Well, it's not like Shout at the Devil was a single, but everybody knew it because it was, that's what you pissed your parents off with. Helter Skelter, everybody knew that one. But the singles
They just knew
were...
because of Beatles. I mean,
right. Looks That Kill, Too Young to Fall in Love were singles. Red Hot got some, just almost like side B play on some radio stations.
Great song, though.
It's a great song. This is weird to me because what he's saying, by the time this came out, I already had my opinion of what Motley Crue was. Sure. And then I had it taken away from me because I was lucky enough, the first Motley Crue that I ever heard was Smoking in the Boys' Room. My cousin Eric was a huge Motley fan, but he made a cassette for me. Side 1 of this cassette that he dubbed was side 1 of Look What the Cat Dragged In, and side 2 of this cassette was side 2 of Too Fast for Love. That was the Motley Crue I really knew. I didn't have MTV until 1990 in my house, so
you missed a lot of this.
I hadn't seen as much Motley Crue as I'd heard them.
Sure.
But I couldn't really distinguish them from Poison at that point anyway until I got older. I completely derailed you.
No,
That's
again,
what I was getting at.
There's 5 hits on this album. 5 hits. I mean, you couldn't get away from this album for probably a couple of years until they kicked Vince out pretty much.
But
they went from this to Decade of Decadence.
But in my opinion, the whole reason people wanted that album was because of these 2 albums.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
No, that's you.
And again, the guitar sound on that album is horrible.
It is Roy Thomas Baker that produced it, though.
Right.
The guy's used to doing Queen.
That was their first mistake,
Yeah.
You get the guy from Queen to make things sound heavy. Took the balls fucking right off that record. The leather version is...
And not to mention, also, if I may go back to my great album one more time.
You asked us a question. We were answering.
And I'm going to tell you...
You guys knew what you were getting into asking me about Motley Crue.
I know. And I'm going to tell you why this is
here.
even better. How many superstars are on this album that guest on this album? We got Steven Tyler. We got the guys from Cheap Trick. We got the guys from Skid Row. We've got the guys from Damn Yankees. We got Bryan Adams. All on this record. I mean, they're all part of this record.
They had been out for 8 years.
How many superstars were on this record?
None.
4 they need.
Exactly.
Well, they weren't superstars at that time.
That's the 5th album. But I mean,
yeah. And that's why it's the best.
If you came into Motley Crue with Shout at the Devil, how well are you going to tolerate Time for Change?
Well, I mean, come on. We're going to bring
But is that
up.
a Motley Crue album or We Are the World?
No one asked you, producer.
It sounded like they needed help. They didn't need help on this one.
Listen.
And they certainly didn't need help on that album.
Hey, and how cool is it they had, the end of She's So Heavy on a song?
I did not. God damn it.
Well, you're not a Beatles guy, so you don't catch it.
Can I tell you a quick story about Egg on My Face? My ex-wife, not a Motley Crue fan, and that is an understatement. When I first got Dr. Feelgood on vinyl, was that reissue. So this would have been 2015.
Yeah.
I remember listening to the end of Slice of Your Pie and it going into this thing. She's uber Beatles fan. She said the F word, and I'm not going to repeat it. But she's like, what do you think about your F word boyfriends ripping off the Beatles? I'm like, what are you talking about, bitch? And all that. Well, she was right.
Well, they already did Helter Skelter poorly. So, I mean.
It's their song.
Oh, come on.
Dude, the Beatles version of Helter Skelter can, and I'm not just saying this because the way
you know who does a good version of Helter Skelter?
Motley
You
Crue's
too.
song. Now he's trolling me.
I'd rather listen to Pat Benatar's version than
She did it too? Well, then why are these guys such unoriginal bastards? I can't understand. Motley Crue will do covers, but they're rarely cool covers.
But they were the first ones to do the cover of Helter Skelter.
It's their song.
Okay.
Well, let's go back to Too Fast for Love. First of all, it's not the original version. It's the second version.
It's
Close
the
enough.
Electra.
Well, it doesn't have Stick to Your Guns on there, which is an epic song.
But wasn't that on the 45 that came with other records?
It was actually the Stick to Your Guns Toast to Town. They printed up 1,000 of those that they would hand out only at gigs. The only time you could buy that, unless you bought it directly from the band in '81, was in 2004, late 2003, early 2004, when Motley Crue put out the volume 1 of their box set. You could then order, it came with a replica, Stick to Your Guns, Toast to the Town 45. But that's the only time it's been, what the hell are these guys waiting for reissuing that? You know, but.
Well, let's bust these out real quick. We'll do Livewire. Oh, let's start with the Electra version, not the leather version, because they're a different order. So we got Livewire, Come On and Dance.
Yep.
Which is, you know, Public Enemy #1.
Great song.
My first bass is named Public Enemy #1 after.
Really?
Well, I had to get a second bass to give it that name, but.
Makes sense. Merry Go Round.
I'm coming around on that song later on. This is going to sound terrible. There's no fucking way Nikki Sixx played the bass on that song.
It's a little complex for Nikki. There's more than one note. Take Me to the Top. I mean, that's a great song. Piece of Action, another great song. Give you that.
Yeah.
Starry Eyes.
Love
Very
it.
good.
Love it.
Too Fast for Love, obviously. And On With the Show, which is an amazing song.
Great song. There's not a bad song on this record. It's like Appetite for Destruction, where like your least cool song is Anything Goes, which again, if that was any other band, would be probably the greatest song they ever wrote. And I feel that way about Merry Go Round. I get, if you're not already in, it might meander, but everything else on this record, I feel, tells you what you need to know about Motley Crue.
Agreed.
All right, let's go to Shout.
Yep.
In the beginning, which is just your intro, which is a pretty cool intro.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
give
a
you
great
that.
intro.
It's very Iron Maiden-esque.
I think it should run straight into Bastard.
But I mean, going right into Shout at the Devil is pretty damn cool. That intro to Shout at the Devil is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, but the lead, the guitar solo in Bastard, I'm gonna say is the best solo that Mick Mars ever laid. If somebody asked me what does Mick Mars do,
not a lot.
I don't know, man. You listen to the solo from Bastard.
He doesn't run marathons, that's for sure.
Does he need to? You know, funny thing about that, and I have to retract this because, and I'd probably feel the same way if I ever met Rick Allen, but my fiance actually suffers from ankylosing spondylitis, which we used to just joke around, the old Mick Mars, I can't walk, whatever. Just seeing what she
actually has.
She actually does. Wow. What she endures on a daily basis. And then you got assholes like me bitching because Mick Mars doesn't come over to this side of the stage that often. The fact that he made the walk once at that age, after that much abuse of his body, the guy's an MVP, but I think that you will never hear a nastier solo from him than the one on Bastard. Red Hot comes close.
Okay, well, let's continue. So we got Shout at the Devil, Looks a Kill. Amazing, obviously.
Sorry.
Bastard, you guys have blown your jizz all over that song tonight.
That's a great song.
God Bless the Children of Beasts, just noodling on guitar.
I like that too. I feel like that should be the intro to like Red Hot. Basically,
next time you produce the record,
yeah.
You're all over this. Helter Skelter, you guys both said that's a great cover. I think it's subpar at best.
I think it's cool.
I think the original is not even subpar, so Motley Crue fixed it.
Oh, God.
It's boring.
Thanks for stopping by, Corey. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Red Hot, you guys both said that's a great song. It's okay to me.
Fun as hell to play.
Okay, well, who plays that? You guys play that in Speedro?
I play it daily in my living room.
Too Young to Fall in Love. Great song. Better video. Knock 'em Dead Kid.
Love it.
Great song. 10 Seconds to Love.
Or Till Love, depending when Nikki...
It depends what version you got.
Well, we were just talking about that on the sleeve. Like, it's clearly, when you hear the song, the lyric is 10 seconds to love, which I always interpreted it as in 10 seconds, this thing is he's going to kiss that girl when I was a kid. But here on the back of this, it took me into my adulthood to notice that on the track listing, it is 10 seconds till love. So Nikki Sixx was probably like, by the time that had gone to press, wait a second, they're going to think I only last for 10 seconds. Stop
10 Second Soldier.
Because I can't make it look like...
Well, what's on the label, though?
On the label is 10 Seconds to Love.
It is to love.
So
okay, and then Danger.
I love it.
It's a cool tune.
I'm going to say that's my third favorite Motley Crue song of them all.
Really? It's a cool tune. The cool part about it is there's no ballads on there. There's really no ballads
you know what,
on
Keith?
here.
Every bad boy has a softer side.
But Motley Crue always end their albums, at least up the first 5. I can't tell you how the Karabi album ends, honestly. I'm saving that for like a rainy day, and I'm
It's a great
30
album,
years
dude.
in.
It's a great
So
album.
one day I'm going to finally hit my limit with the original stuff, and then I'll go back to the Karabi album. I'm like saving it. So I don't know how that ends, but Motley Crue records, except for Saints of Los Angeles, always end on an oddball song, like that's just kind of way different than the rest of the album. Time for Change, Jailhouse Rock, a live cover that was
Girls, right?
yeah. Same thing with Generation Swine, ended with that song Brandon that Tommy Lee wrote and sang for him.
That made Glitter sound good.
Glitter is good.
All right, so let's go to this great album here. Dr. Feelgood. Let's take it down. TNT, we've already talked about the intro. Right in the... I mean, does it get better than
It's the
that?
only cool thing about the song.
Stop it. That riff is pretty badass, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the vocals, it took me forever.
All right, well, we're talking Vince Neil vocals.
Okay, but I'm also talking, it's a wordy song, and the lyrics aren't all that, it's not a good enough, lyrically, I don't feel it's a good enough song to require that many words.
Jimmy was only a secondhand hooded.
Well, he dealt
But he
in
didn't in Hollywood, so he has that
that's true.
going for him.
That's true.
All right,
But
anyways.
you'd think that he would have his car painted nicer than just primer, but maybe I'm missing the point.
Anyway, it's a great song, Dr. Feelgood. Slice of Your Pie. The outro is the best part of the song.
I hate that song, as a matter of fact.
Well, because it's got a Beatles
No!
part in it.
We're not talking brilliance in the first place, but you're Nikki Sixx. You never fancied yourself in with the rest of those bands, and you're gonna have lyrics on this album. Slice your pie, oh good God, there's a fire in my pants.
It's very 80s. I'll give you that. Then we go to Rattlesnake Shake, which is probably the second best Rattlesnake Snakes. Snake Shake.
Say it again.
Rattlesnake Shake song I've ever heard.
It comes out after the Shamrock Shake. Around Easter.
I think the Skid Row version of Rattlesnake Shake is better.
I think that both bands tried to write a song around a title, and both missed it by.
But then okay. So
this much.
now we're hitting the gas though now.
Okay.
Oh,
So now we're going right into Kickstart My Heart. Amazing song,
cool tune.
great production, cool guitar solo. Then Without You. Okay, it's a ballad. So what? It's a ballad.
I like it.
Every bad boy's got a softer side.
You mentioned that.
I know. That's true. Just remember that video with like Vince standing on top of a pyramid or some
And, like,
nonsense.
Jaguar or whatever walking around, and they tried so hard to make McMar's camera ready. They did. It's not his fault.
No, it's not. You could put a dress on a pig.
He's just as God made him.
Just as God made me, sir.
There it is.
I am.
Same old situation. Great.
I dig that one.
I like
Great
it.
song.
That was one of the early songs I learned to play on bass.
And the video's awesome.
Righty,
Vince plays
pretty.
guitar on it. I mean, how cool is that?
And wears a Cleveland Indians baseball cap.
And they have the ball with the camera in it.
Loved that when I said I didn't get MTV till 1990. So like the song that was the hit then, like right when I started watching, was Same Old Situation. And that stuck with me, that ball, and just being pissed off that I'm never going to see Motley Crue live ever. My
Boy,
dad
did you
said
change that.
But I do think that one kind of stole a little bit from Heaven's on Fire by Kiss.
Same Old Situation?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think that. That's fine. It's still probably my second favorite.
Okay, now I'm hearing it now. All right.
Second favorite live shot on a Motley Crue video. You know what my first favorite live shot version? Home Sweet Home.
The chick's top. The first boobs I ever saw in my life. Christmas Day, 1986. No, that was New Year's Eve 2015. I saw his tits. But again, my cousin Eric walked in on Christmas Day. He had gotten Motley Crue Uncensored for Christmas.
Oh, there's boobs on
Right
that.
as I walk in the door, there's Vince in like the jacuzzi car, and the chick pulls up her boobs.
Pulls up her boobs. Sounds
or
painful.
lifts up her shirt, and my parents were, and I was just like,
Sticky
again,
Sweet.
touching on the doll.
That's
Stupid,
right.
stupid song.
Sticky, but it's got some great people on it.
And they couldn't save it, could they? Oh, good God, there's a fire in my pants. That's so stupid. That
Then,
sucks.
speaking of great appearances, she goes down.
I got nothing bad to say
It
about
might have
this
been.
song.
It should have been a Cheap Trick song. It's a Cheap Trick
The
song.
best part is Robin's part.
Yeah.
But I do love coming out of that. You know, she makes me feel good. Like just coming out of the soul of that. That's cool.
It's a great song. And Don't Go Away, Mad, Just
Love
Go
it.
Away.
That's a good one.
Love that.
Come on.
That is a cool tune.
That was the last single from that record. That was still the summer of 1990, like late August 1990. That song was top 10.
I thought Same Old Situation was after. I thought that was the last one because they said see you next tour and then they broke up.
You might be right.
Maybe you are.
I know more than you do. And then Time for Change, which is, okay.
No. I feel like
That's the weird song at the end.
I'm going to go back to that. Sorry. I don't mind Time for Change as much as
No,
I
it's a
should.
good song. I mean, it's better than Glitter.
How do you say things like that?
Because Glitter's horrible.
Why though? You know what? We're just going to you should come over to my place, motherfucker. We'll talk about some Generation Swine.
I love Generation Swine. I just don't like that song.
I think it's one of the better songs on there, but that's just me. We'll talk about Generation Swine another day.
Yes, that'll be another podcast. But anyway, so this is what we've come down to: is my record's better, and then maybe
This is what we've all agreed on.
So what we've agreed on is I think we're in the right order here.
Nobody agreed with you at all, Scott.
I think we're in the right order here.
I think my mom loves Dr. Feelgood. That's her favorite Motley Crue record.
Your mom's a wise woman.
She does all right.
So are you.
She raised a wonderful son.
I mean,
that she did too.
So I think everyone should comment and post below. Yeah, it'll be below, right?
And you know what? If we're missing a mark on a Motley Crue song, that
wherever you want to post,
yeah,
tell us what you think.
One of us.
Like, call Scott. His number is.
So there we go.
It's almost like
or tell the truth.
For Keith, press 1. For Scott, press 2. For Corey, press 3.
So
that was fun.
So I think this is what we've decided. Motley Crue, probably their 3 best albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't comment too much on the later ones. I kind of lost touch after this. So
I feel like has Motley Crue put out a bad album? I think so.
New Tattoo?
I've listened to that record all the way through once.
Yeah. Well, you haven't heard the Karabi stuff you said.
I've heard everything. I haven't done a deep dive.
Hooligan's Holiday, baby. It's all about.
That's a great song. I mean, I like the songs I've heard. I've just never done the kind of just examination that I've had the time to do with all these other records. I feel like as far as those kind of bands go, I think if there's any one of them that deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, any one of them, it's going to be Motley Crue and Motley Crue only, because I feel like, Bon Jovi's in,
Def Leppard in?
Def Leppard is in, but I feel like Def Leppard did enough.
The first 2 albums are brilliant.
I feel like Def Leppard has not.
Maybe the first.
I like 10-arm Def Leppard.
I like Def Leppard. I like the Def Leppard thing. I like the sound, but I feel like if there's one quote unquote MTV hair band that goes into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is deserving, I think it's going to be Motley Crue, because they got in early. They made their impact. They had the longevity that a Quiet Riot or a Rat or a Twisted Sister didn't have. And there's a reason why 40 years later, people are still clamoring for Motley Crue above all those other bands. I feel like hard rock and metal defined rock in the 80s, and I feel like it was nowhere near the global phenomenon it was without Motley Crue. And I think without the Shout at the Devil record, but you're not getting anywhere without the Too Fast for Love record. And everybody, including my mother, loves the Dr. Feelgood record. My mom loves Bon Jovi.
God bless her.
She loves Dr. Feelgood.
Anyway, this has been awesome.
Thank
talking
you guys
music,
so much.
having Corey Rotic, ladies and
Our
gentlemen.
special guest, Corey Rotic.
You're welcome back anytime, bro.
Special Olympics guest. Well, thank you. Can I come back?
Absolutely. So yeah, you'll see all Corey's stuff in the wrap up here, and we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks, man.
Thank you guys so
Loved
much. Can I give the numbers again? Things are pretty important to me. For anyone who may be hurting, or if you care for somebody who's struggling, there's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. If you drink, have a blast doing it, don't drive. And if you're in recovery, recover loudly.
Right on.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. This was our first episode, so I hope we didn't suck too bad.
We did.
For Stairway to Cleveland, that's Keith.
That's Scott.
And that's Corey. And that's Rick.
I'm Rick. Ricky Rock. Rock Rick.
Rocky Rickett. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Rickett.